What's going on, everyone? So, when it comes to Scream 5, the big question is whether or not the OG3 will live or die, particularly Sidney. And myself, other Scream YouTubers, we've all dived into pretty much every possible scenario, every possible idea when it comes to potential deaths or ways that they can be written off of Scream. And when it comes to Sidney specifically, it's very mixed. A lot of people understand that it's most likely that one, if not all of the OG3 will die, but Sidney is the one that people have the biggest problem of letting go. And every time I make a video, I get pretty mixed responses. Half of you are like, no, she is Scream. It's not Scream without her. And then the other half are like, yes, I agree, Scream is Sidney, but at some point you have to move on. And in a lot of ways, it is correct. Sidney has shaped and molded into this Scream that we know today. She has the entire Scream universe sort of orbiting around her. And yes, Scream 3 and 4 did a pretty good job of balancing both her and other characters. And Scream 4, she wasn't really like the main focus. But at the end of the day, she is the one that we wait anxiously to see come on screen. She is the one that we're waiting to see which direction her character is going to go. What kind of development are we going to see with her character in this film? And it's the same thing that's going to happen with 5. And yes, they have their new characters. They have their new direction in which they want to go. But the focus will always be Sidney as long as she exists in this universe. So I wanted to kind of run a couple ideas and have an open discussion with you all per usual. So make sure you join it down in the comments below. I have a couple key points that I want to present and a question that I want to propose to you all. But before we get started, be sure to like this video. It helps me out a lot, lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. And let's get into it. The OG3 are the heart and soul of Scream. I mean, even Radio Silence had an interview recently, and they said just as much. They said it's not Scream without the OG3, and that they are the heart and soul, and what is the sort of bread and butter of Scream up until this point. And what is the title of this film? It's called Scream. So it's very likely that they're referencing this current film. Now, that doesn't mean that the OG3 will die, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that they will live. Again, Sidney and the OG cast are going to be the center of the film as long as they are in the film. Now, you have these new characters that they want to introduce and they want to enact and build this new sort of Scream trilogy, Scream universe around. As long as you have the OG3, you're not doing that. Because you're going to have the OG3 who are always going to be the focus. If Ghostface is chasing, Jenna Ortega's character and Neve Campbell's character, who are the audience going to want to survive? Sidney. That's just how it is. She, again, has become Scream. But the problem is, the film and franchise is called Scream. It's not called Sidney. It's not called Gail, Dewey, and Sidney. It's not called the OG3. It is called Scream. It centers around the Ghostface killings. It centers around a group of teenagers that are being stalked and killed by a Ghostface killer. And I can see them trying to get back to those roots because they have said that. They have said that they want to get back to the roots of Scream, that they want to get back to what it originally was entitled as. And the whole thing that everyone says is like, oh, Wes would never kill Sidney. That is not true at all. He had intentions of killing Sidney, and pretty much every Scream film that he made. Scream 2, Cotton was supposed to get her. Scream 3, Roman was supposed to get her. Scream 4, Jill was pretty much supposed to get away with it. And it was supposed to end on a cliffhanger, and, who knows what would have happened from then on out. But the reason Wes didn't kill her was because they wanted to keep doing films. So he was like, all right, well, then I'll just keep doing it around the cast that I'm comfortable with, around the people that I know, and keep adding and building to the story. Plus, Kevin Williamson, he had his story, and yes, they changed it and did all this crazy stuff to it, but at the end of the day, the only reason Sidney's still alive is because they wanted to keep building stories around her. And the Weinsteins were very adamant about it. I mean, they had a huge influence in the Scream that we know. And don't worry, I'm putting a video together regarding all of that information. So look forward to that very soon. But my point is that you're going off of like, oh, Wes never would have killed Sidney, which isn't true. But at the same time, you're going off of like, you're looking at Sidney as the last sort of link and tie to Wes. And I've said this in previous videos. I don't want this Scream to be a carbon copy of Wes, because these people aren't Wes. And any attempt you make to try to replicate Wes's creation and try to be Wes, it's going to fall flat because it's not him. Just give me a good quality Scream film, and you want to maintain and uphold Wes's legacy, then stick to the standard and give the fans a Scream film that we can be proud of. Give us a Scream film that we're riled up for and talk about and are excited for. And I have a lot of faith in this because I don't think the OG3 would have signed on had they known this wasn't going to be a good film. And this leads into my main question that I want to present to you. Is the OG3, Courtney, David, and Neve, they pretty much swore off Scream films. It took a lot of effort to get them to sign on to Scream 4. And even after that, when Wes was gone, they said that's it. Like, we're not doing another Scream film ever. But they saw the direction, they saw the idea, they saw what these new producers wanted to continue the legacy, and they signed on. So that gives me a lot of hope that it is going to happen. But the question that I want to propose to you is, what if Neve asks to be killed off? And I want you to think about that for a second, because some of you may be thinking, like, why would she do that? Well, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it's not the first time that this request has happened. Courtney herself wanted to be killed off in Scream 4. David said the same thing, that he wanted to be killed off. So Courtney and David have both publicly said that they wanted to be killed off. I mean, you can look this stuff up. They said at one point to the producers that they wanted to be written off of Scream, and because it's a horror film, they want to be killed. They want to be killed off. They don't want to just ride off in the sunset, because it doesn't fit the narrative of what you're creating. This isn't a drama. This isn't a sci-fi thriller. No, this is a realism slasher film in which it makes more sense to kill somebody off than it does to have them escape and live in Malibu somewhere, or live on a private island or something. Like, no, realistically, you want to kill off these characters. So it is very likely that Neve asked for this, that the OG3 have asked, like, hey, I want you to kill us off. And the thing is, we won't know about it until after the film comes out. I mean, that's how it was originally. Like, nobody knew that they wanted to be killed off until after the film came out. And again, it was sort of Wes and the producers and stuff that essentially said, like, hey, no, like, come on, like, let's, we're going to do this trilogy, and I'll kill you off at some point. Now, Wes is gone, rest in peace. He was incredible. I mean, there's no replacing Wes Craven. But this isn't a Wes film, and they don't want to continue to do Scream without Wes. I mean, all the interviews that you see with them talking about Scream is all about how empty they felt that Wes wasn't around, how hard it was to do this film without Wes. You think they're going to want to keep doing a ton of them? And now, I don't think that it would be wise to necessarily kill them all off at once. But at the same time, I don't think it would bring quality to the film as well. If it happens, so be it. But I think most likely, if they do a trilogy, it'll probably one an episode type thing. Like, I think Sidney is the most likely to survive this. I can see Dewey and Gale eventually dying in this film, one if not both. Sidney, I think, most likely will live, and then she could potentially meet her end in the next film, maybe somewhere towards the beginning or the middle, or they could even, like I said, do one per film, and then ultimately Sidney dies in the end. But either way, I think at some point, whether it's this film or it's another film, they're going to die. It's just going to happen. And I can see Neve and the rest of the crew saying, like, Wes isn't here no more. Like, let's do this one for the legacy of Wes, and this be the end. That's it. And Neve going to them saying, like, hey, I need you to kill my character off because this is a horror slasher franchise. And Courtney and David saying the same thing because they already said that to Wes. So if they have no problems telling Wes that, I highly doubt they have a problem telling these new producers that, like, hey, we want to be killed off. Especially Dewey, I can see, because at least Gail, we have knowledge of scenes, not necessarily later in the film. We don't exactly know when the scenes are, but we know that she does have some scenes. Same thing with Neve. So it's most likely they're going to live a good portion of this film. But when it comes to David and Dewey, there is no real information, nothing concrete. There's some rumors that I saw, but nothing that you can point to and say, okay, that is that. So it is very likely that Dewey could die very early in this movie or at some point, mid-film. Now, I don't think he'll be the opening scene kill. I wouldn't be surprised. But if I'm being honest, I think that, within the first maybe 30, 40 minutes, because this film is supposed to be 2 hours plus, I could see him not being in the second half of this film. So, but that's essentially the question that I want to propose to you. Like, if Neve goes to these people and says, I need you to kill me off. Like, this is the last film I'm doing. I'm going to do this for Wes, for Scream, for the fans. You have your new characters. You have your new sort of Sidney and Jenna Ortega. It's time for me to move on and move past this. Same thing with David. Same thing with Courtney. Now what are they supposed to do? Say no? Too bad? No, you kill them off. You do what they ask. So I just think it's a very real possibility. And there's evidence backing this up that it's likely it could happen. Now, if it happened, again, this is just a theory. This is just hearsay. This is just some person on YouTube bringing up the conversation. So it is very likely that it didn't happen. But even if she didn't ask to be killed off, that doesn't mean that she won't be killed off. So either way, it's very likely that this could be the final film for one, if not all, of the OG3. And yeah, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Join the discussion. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Neve would even ask for something like that? Do you think that, no, she wouldn't do that because of the fans? And again, to sort of wrap this up and close it, is that, like, I understand people's hesitation. I don't want Sidney to die. Like, pretty much every film or every video I've made talking about Sidney potentially dying in this film, I make it very clear that, like, I don't want her to go. She was my childhood, I grew up with this Scream franchise. It's my favorite franchise as far as horror goes. So, of course, I want Sidney to live forever. But every final girl eventually dies. Again, this is a horror franchise. This isn't a drama. This isn't some sci-fi thriller. This is a film centered around realism. How many times can they realistically, again, if we're sticking with realism, which is Scream is known for, like, that's what they build their franchise around, is realism. How long can we keep going on these attacks towards the same group of people that keep getting beat up, shot, stabbed, all this stuff? They're getting up there in age. It's inevitable. Eventually, enough is enough, and eventually you're gonna come around that corner and slip up, and boom, you're dead. Or one of these killers are gonna be smart enough to just sneak up behind you, and make sure it's over, lights out, Eventually somebody's going to get you if you're in this scenario. And yes, I get it. You'd be on high alert. You would be, they're prepared. They've gone through this so many times. It's almost routine. But even the most routine people in situations stumble or mess up or something happens. And that's my point, is that if we're going to stick with realism and we're going to stick with what Scream has always been known for, then at some point this has to be the end of them. And I understand the ties to Sidney. I understand not wanting her to die. I understand you wanting her to continue on and be the focus and be the center, because it's all we've ever known for Scream. But that doesn't mean that Scream can't be a good franchise without them or without her. Scream could be just as good if we just put aside our biases. Again, that was Wes's vision. That was Wes's direction. That was the story and the house that Wes built, which was incredible. I mean, we have an amazing fandom. We have just so many diehards. We're all so fixated and fascinated, and you have all kinds of creators like myself that are talking about all, these different theories and ideas. I mean, this is what Wes wanted. We are Wes's legacy, in a lot of ways. All of us are the entire fandom. And I don't want these producers to get caught up in the whole, I have to maintain everything that Wes has done has to be in this film. Because again, they're not Wes. Those were Wes's characters. They want their new characters. They have to do their vision. And as long as they give us a quality film, they can't be worried about what the fandom, what everyone's gonna like. This could be the greatest Scream film yet. This could be better than the original, and people will still hate it because Wes wasn't involved. It wasn't a Wes film. It wasn't how they envisioned Scream. Just like with anything that you do, people love it and they hate it. I make a video, I get people disliking it and liking it. Hit the like button for me if you're listening this far, if you're still in this. But yeah, for the most part, like everything, people dislike and like things. That's how it works. That's why all, social media algorithms and everything are centered around likes and dislikes. So when you hit the like button for a video like this one, hit the like button, it sends to YouTube's algorithm like, hey, this is a good video, let's show it to somebody else. And it's the same thing. Our society is built around likes and dislikes. So I'd rather them put out a quality film and focus on their vision and the way that they want to go about Scream, and us as a fandom go in without our biases and just sit and enjoy this film. But anyway, I'm sort of getting off topic. I'll do a video sort of going into my opinion on what I'm talking about right now with Radio Silence and sort of Wes, because I think that deserves a video in and of itself, and I don't want to make this like a 30-minute video. So anyway, like I said, let me know what you think in regards to the OG3 and everything like that. Be sure to like this video. It helps me out a lot. Lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.